Hi guys, my name is Chuck. Happy Sabbath and good afternoon, or should I say evening. Like I said, my name is Chuck. To my right is the coolest guy I know, Keenan. To my left is the most popular guy I know, Shane. And to my very left is the guy with the best hair. Not only does he have the best hair, but he's also a biblical encyclopedia. His name is Andre. How's everybody doing, guys?
I'm doing good. It's pretty good.
All right, so we are starting. If the guys are on their phone, it's because they're sharing it right now. I'm actually wanting you guys, please, to share it as well so everybody can see, all of your friends can see, because we want as many people as possible to see this. Like I was saying before, this is a new thing that we're trying to do, Mount Zion Youth Ministries, and it's a once monthly, every first Friday talk show, and we've called it The Walk, because it's going to be primarily about our walk with Christ. So before we do anything and talk about our new theme, we're going to have Shane say a quick prayer for us. Shane.
All right. Dear Jesus, we want to thank you for this day. Thank you for bringing us together. Some of us had good weeks and tough weeks, but we made it here, and we wanted to say thank you for that. I pray that as we go through this talk that we may have a good time with it, but also come away learning something and become closer to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So, you know, like I said on the video before, I always hear women say chivalry is dead. Men just aren't like they used to be. And, you know, men aren't men anymore. So, you know, that brings up a question, and I want to ask Shane, what is your definition of chivalry?
Chivalry. So, when I think of chivalry, I think of, you know, what a guy does for a girl. I think of examples of even like opening a door for a girl, pulling out her chair before you sit down and making sure she's seated and she's comfortable. That to me is chivalry.
Okay, so that's actually a very good definition. That's what comes to my mind first thing when I hear chivalry. You know, how a guy treats a girl, opening doors for her, pulling out her chair, that kind of thing. So I looked up chivalry, and the first thing that came up was way back in the day, it was a knight's code. And, you know, it actually had a lot to do with religion and how a knight is supposed to defend his God or his religion and things like that. You know, so that whole thing has kind of evolved into what we know today as chivalry. So that's what we're going to talk about, not the ancient version of chivalry, but the real version of chivalry. So I like to think I'm a pretty chivalrous guy, right? Shane, what do you think? Do you think you're chivalry? Where are you at on the 1 to 10 scale with that?
Scale. Let's see. I try. I'm careful with it. Okay. So I can be very chivalrous. Let's put that out there.
Okay, so
but I'm careful with how chivalrous I am.
Okay.
So I'll put myself at a 7, 8.
Okay, 7, 8. That's pretty high. All right.
What do you put yourself as?
I would put myself as a 10, of course. You know what? I have to be honest. If I have to be completely honest, I would say that I'm also probably about a 7 or an 8. Andre, since we are talking about how men treat women, I want to ask you a personal question.
All right.
Are you dating anybody right now?
Nope.
Okay, so all the single ladies that are watching right now, Andre Edwards, you can find him on Facebook. If you add me, he's one of my friends. Definitely, he is a catch and a half. So anyways, that's not what this is all about. But anyways, Andre, you're single. So right now, you're not in the being chivalrous mode, for instance. You don't have a girlfriend, somebody that you're doing this constantly with, like me. How about you, Keenan? Are you single as well?
No, I'm not single.
You're not single.
No, I'm not.
Okay, good. So you do have a girlfriend. Wonderful. Hi, Yasmin. I wasn't supposed to say her name. Okay, so let me ask you something, Keenan. If Yasmin was on here, oh, she is. Hi, Yasmin. We see you. How chivalrous would she say you are on a scale from 1 to 10?
Oh, how? Okay. Let's see. If I had to be the honest answer, I think she would give me about I would say 6.
I was thinking that.
6.
A 6 or a 7.
6.
All right, go ahead, Yas. Go ahead and comment so we can see. You guys read me the comments.
You're right.
Okay, she would give you a 6. Now, she would give you a 6. What would you give yourself?
Me?
Yes.
Okay, I would give myself and my standards probably about the same 6 or 7.
6 or 7. All right. So, do you feel like there's room for improvement over there?
No, I don't.
No,
I guess
absolutely not.
it depends. It depends on the time. If we're
Okay.
going on a date, it could be more chivalrous. If I'm with a group of people by myself, maybe you pull it back. So it just depends.
Okay, I understand that. But Shane, chivalry has changed a lot in the last couple of years, especially now where we are treating women as our equals and not as whatever we were before. So different things like inviting people out on a date or asking them out, things as such as paying for the date and things like that, they have changed. It's a little different now. How does it work now? Let's go specifically into paying for dates with a girl.
So paying with
Wow. So I think it depends on who you're with. I think that a lot of women are independent now and think of themselves that way, which is true. And they don't want to feel like they're depending on you. Like, they want to make it clear that I can take care of myself.
Okay.
Which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But then you have another class
Yes.
that have been brought up a certain way, and they're like, there ain't no way I'm paying for my meal if you're trying to pursue me or go after me. Like, that's your job.
Okay.
Now, is one right or wrong? What do you think?
Well, to me, it depends on, just like you said, depends on a lot of things, like who you're with specifically.
Sure.
And, of course, a lot of other factors, like, if she's a doctor and I work cleaning bathrooms, then maybe she can pay for a date or two, So, and then there's nothing wrong with that. I was researching the topic, Keenan, about chivalry, and somebody had the idea, they put forth, that chivalry is no longer needed.
Okay, I agree.
Wait, hold on. Let me tell you why. Chivalry is no longer needed because it was sort of a tool that men used to get women to sleep with them. Let's be completely honest. You took a girl out on a date, you paid for her dinner, you opened her door and that kind of thing, and at the end of the night, you were hoping for something, and that's why we were chivalrous, and it wasn't really because we wanted to be. But these days, that doesn't really exist anymore because it is no longer a difficult thing to sleep with a young lady. What do you think about that?
Andre,
All right, so you're asking me, is it needed still?
Yes.
Because
of that specific reason.
Whew. I think it's still needed because I feel that women still need to feel like if you're pursuing a girl, you need to let her know that you really care about her.
Right.
And that's why you're doing these things. Like that's why you're opening doors for her. That's why you're treating her like the queen you think she is.
Wow.
Again, ladies, totally single. Andre Edwards. You can look him up on Facebook. He's definitely there. You know what? That's actually a great answer, all joking aside, because you do want to make a young lady feel like she's important and that you do care about her and that her time is valuable.
Yeah.
That's another thing for you young ladies out there. Remember that a guy has to show you that your time is valuable to him. But that's another thing. I wanted to go into our upbringing, because I think that has a lot to do with how we feel and how we treat women. I was born and raised an Adventist. Keenan, how about you?
Born and raised in Adventist.
Born and raised Adventist. Shane?
Same.
Born and raised Adventist. And
Whatever.
Andre?
Since you already called me the Bible encyclopedia,
Yes.
I was born and raised in it.
Okay, so I just want you guys to understand that, yes, we're trying to give you a sort of view, but our view does come from 4 guys that were all born and raised Adventists and that are currently very active in the church, and we're all, followers of Christ. But to some young lady that's watching right now, I don't want you to think that you start going out with just any guy and you're going to get somebody like Andre. Again, you can look him up personally. Okay, it goes down in the DMs. So you have to be very careful how you are with a young man, because unfortunately, a lot of guys are opportunists, and maybe they're not going to automatically be chivalrous like Andre
For the right reasons.
for the right reasons.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
let me ask you something, Keenan. As a young lady, should you demand chivalry?
Should you demand chivalry?
Yes.
Okay, so this is how I feel, right?
Let me pause you real quick. Young ladies that are watching, go ahead and comment. Feel free to stop me. Do you or should you demand chivalry from a guy? Go ahead, Keenan.
Okay, so demanding. I don't think you should supposed to be demanding if you're a girl, and the reason why is because you have to force it so much, and that's something that you want, and that's probably when it's not the person for you. Because there's some girls who might not really care so much for it, and that's some guys who might not care so much to give it, and they'd be fine. But if you really need that and you're trying to force it, then it's not gonna work. You're not supposed to force anything.
All right. So Shane, if a young lady is dating you, and she expects you to do things like open doors for her, pay for her dinner, and things of that sort, and you're not doing that because either you don't know or you don't think it's needed anymore, how should a young lady tell you that or bring that up to you in a way that won't seem terrible?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully as a guy, I wouldn't be doing those type of things. But if you are a girl that sees a guy and he has everything that you need and he's just missing this particular section, maybe there is a way to have a conversation. You know, try to find out how he was brought up. See what his family's been like. Maybe he was taught a certain way or didn't even have a father that taught him that this is what you're supposed to do as a young man. So I don't know if I would automatically, write a person off because of that, because some girls do that. But I would try to kind of find out his background, because then you know how to approach it. It's not like, oh, why ain't you pay for my dinner? Like, why aren't you opening my doors? Like, when it comes off that way, then in the guy's mind, it's just like, okay. So it almost seems like a checklist that you're trying to,
Right.
check off, instead of like, how is this something that's going to actually benefit the relationship?
Yeah.
And that's where a conversation that's, not, what is it called when you're not allowing a guy to be a man in the relationship?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a word for it, but
Yeah.
it's just like, it's all about how you present it.
Right.
So go about a way where you say, this is important to me, so I'd like to see how we can make this work.
Let me ask you something, Shane. Again, can that be a deal breaker if a young lady is demanding you to do things that you're maybe not necessarily comfortable with? Is that a time for you to say, hey, maybe this is not the person for me?
So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So this is what I think. I think that if you're like starting in the talking dating stage or whatever, it's important to talk about those things. Like talk about how the other person, like how you view the other person, the things you expect from them and like don't expect, because there's a lot of times where relationships begin and they just think these things and they never get comfortable with talking about each other, and so later on in a relationship where like bigger issues arise, they still don't know how to talk to each other. So I think that's important to get out in the beginning. Now with that, I think it should be like a kind of trial and error, kind of like have to feel it out, not like you as a girl can expect. There's nothing wrong with that, but I see in the comments a lot of people say it shouldn't be demanded, and I can agree with that. So you have to kind of be in the middle. Like you gotta have to see where the guy is, and if he's not there, kind of test out, like feel him out, see if he's willing to go that mile. Maybe he doesn't know, maybe he's not aware.
Okay.
But I think it should definitely be addressed. But if you have to really change who that person is, then like I agree with you, and like that it probably won't work. Because at some point he's gonna get fed up with having to change who he's not,
Right, I agree. Sometimes things just don't work. By the way, guys, if you're just joining us, this is our new thing that we're trying to do, a monthly talk show. We're calling it The Walk, because it is eventually all about our walk with Christ. So if you are just joining us, please go ahead and share. Write down comments. We're going to be reading comments here. Share it for all your friends. Too. Keenan, let me ask you something. Actually, I should be asking Andre this. He just spoke. But you know what? I'm going to ask Andre because he's a single gentleman. And obviously, ladies, you see he's incredibly handsome, very stylish. And his hair, I wish I had his hair. So, originally, back when I was a young man like you, I almost never seen a young lady try to go after a guy. It was always the other way around. The man was always the aggressor. He was always the one trying to get the young lady's attention. And actually, it was a thing, believe it or not, for women to play what we call hard to get. They would deliberately try to make it seem as though they were not interested because their theory was that it would make the man want them even more. But these days, things are a little bit different, and you went to school for 4 years in Tampa, correct?
Yep.
I'm sure during that time you had just thousands,
Oh, goodness gracious.
you know, hundreds of thousands of young ladies trying to get. But let me ask you something. How does that make you feel if a young lady were to try not just to be a friend with you, but to try and be with you in a romantic manner?
Okay. Personally, that makes me feel like a superstar. I feel incredibly amazing.
Is it because it's 100,000 of them, or just the one makes you feel like a superstar?
I don't know where you're getting these numbers. There are no facts, no evidence of that. But yeah, like it makes me feel great. But at the same time, I can see how people are deterred from that because in my head, I'm not sure. Like usually the people that do that aren't people you initially saw yourself with or that you would pursue. Usually it's someone like random, like, oh, this girl's, oh, I think she's kind of into me. Like stuff like that. And usually, once that happens, I do feel great. I do go along with it most of the time. But in my head, I'm usually like, I'm not going to want a relationship with this person. But I feel great.
Yeah, so it does make you feel, you're flattered.
Yeah.
I think I would feel the same way. It's happened to me one time in my whole life. You know, a young lady came up to me. I was just flabbergasted. It was at a Walmart. Yeah, I've told this story before. It was at a Walmart. Okay, thank you. That's all of the story I'm going to tell. But, you know, it did make me feel flattered, but I don't feel like I would be very attracted to the lady just because, in my mind, that's just not how it goes. You know, maybe things should switch around, but either way, we're going to go to one of our viewers' questions, and it's a really good question, and I think she's trying to put me on the spot. So thank you, Melinda. The question is, do you guys think that a long-term relationship no longer requires chivalry if the couple becomes comfortable with each other? Keenan, since you've been dating for a good little minute, do you feel, well, first, before we even address this question, let me ask you, do you feel like you are any more or less chivalrous than you were at the very beginning?
Yeah,
Less.
Yeah. So, in the beginning of the relationship, I feel like mostly, that's like everybody, mostly not everybody, but most everybody, when they try to pursue a relationship, they do more things to show. You're trying to go hard because you want the girl to know that you like them. When you get into a relationship, and it's like both parties, usually they start turning back because you're like, I already have you, so you get comfortable. So, and that's the answer to your question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
What was the second question?
Well, actually, I'm going to ask Shane this because I want to know specifically to the question that Miss Melinda asked, do you think that a long-term relationship, once you're with a girl for an extended amount of time, should you be just as chivalrous as you were in the beginning?
Yeah, you should be, definitely.
What?
And I've always heard this thing where, and I've heard it for years, and I didn't quite understand it. Like, you should always date. You know, even when you're married. Always act like you're dating. And I feel like that's important. One, it keeps it interesting.
Right.
Two, it's going to be much harder for somebody to come along and pique the interest of your partner because I'm still dating you. Like, I'm still working to impress you. Like, you're still that important to me. And I think that's something that is even increasingly important as you go along because you've been together for all this time. If people are like me at all, and I'm not talking about relationships specifically, but I get bored easily.
Okay.
So, like, no matter what activity I'm doing, if I do it for too long, I need to switch something up. So I feel like chivalry helps to make that happen. You don't stop at just opening doors or something. You do other acts that show that you're still interested. Like, it might be 2, 3, 4, 10 years, but I'm still into you, and that's what that kind of shows.
Can I respond to that too?
Yeah, please.
So how I would feel though is, as well, I guess from a different perspective, would be
It's called reality.
reality.
Oh,
Okay,
reality.
that's kind of what I was going to use too. So I say you get married 10, 11 years from now, and you're working hard. You both have full-time jobs. You come home. Let's say you have kids, stuff like that. It's very hard to start when you say chivalry for that to start happening. But like, you know, every time you come, like, oh, let's take you on a date. A lot of times you get spend that time together, right? And the relationships, I know there's a lot of relationships that don't really do that chivalry for so, like, in their 11th year. But, you know, usually in that special time moments when they have maybe on that special day for the anniversary, when that happens, it makes it feel even more special. I feel as though, and as well as I feel like chivalry, if you do it so often, it won't be the same, I would say. People get used to that. Just like how you were saying, I feel like if you do chivalry so much, every time I see you, I open the door for you, it's just like, oh, I expect that. So I feel as though at first, you know, you do the chivalry. Not that you don't stop being a gentleman, but you don't have to go, you know, knight in armor and swords and, you know, fight. But, you know, I feel as though it's supposed to just, you know, when you probably, I usually feel like chivalry is for that special dates, special times. And I feel like that's when it really works well.
Well, you know, I am going to tend to agree with Keenan a little more. But before I tell you guys what I think, just from his past answers, ladies and gentlemen, again, single, ready to mingle. Shane Clark, okay? You can look him up on the single side, because this guy has all the right ideas about chivalry. But, you know, I look at it in a way that's a little bit more maybe realistic. And for instance, I am engaged to be married right now to a, thank you, Shane's the only one that cares, to a very wonderful young lady. And for the first couple of months, I never saw her without makeup and without dressing like a, you know, fashion model, you know, and not looking just absolutely gorgeous, okay? And she probably would say the same thing about me with the chivalry and stuff. But eventually, you start settling in. And that's the same thing with chivalry, I feel like. Yeah, eventually then she starts hanging out with me and not really caring about doing her makeup just as much, because she's a little bit more comfortable with me. So I think that chivalry in the traditional sense kind of goes that way too. Yeah, first date, of course I'm opening every single door for her. I'm obviously going to pay. But, you know, eventually I'm like, you know, I know you're making some money. You want to help me out with this date. And you know what? She's more than happy to, you know, pay for dates and things like that. But if she wasn't, I don't know how I'd feel, you know? That would make things a lot different, because if you're going out with me and I'm paying every time and you've never offered, even if I say, no, don't worry about it, I want you to offer, if you never offer, I almost feel like you're coming not to spend time with me, but for this free meal. So, Andre, that brings me to my next question. Or do we have another?
Well, I want to read Mary's response, which is really good.
Okay.
And she, I guess everybody watching can see it, but I just want to read it. In response to Keenan's answer, that's how people fall out of love. If you guys buy a car, you wouldn't just let it go once you have it. You have to maintain it, show it love, TLC. Same goes for a relationship. You don't have to go overboard, but don't let the relationship go to waste. Be thoughtful and remind her that you love her. It's your decision if your relationship has an expiration date or not.
Ooh. Well.
Wow.
I'm going to start opening more doors over here. But I was going to ask you, you know, chivalry seems now to be almost a two-way street, if you will. Do you think that, yes, we know men should be chivalrous, but do you think that there's a point where a woman should be chivalrous to a man?
Give me an example. I'm not sure.
Okay, so now, of course, I researched everything online because that's the only thing I can research. Someone said that you know, chivalry can go both ways these days. So if I ask a young lady out on a date, I should pay for it.
Okay.
But if a young lady asks me out on a date and I were to accept, then she should pay for it. Now, how do you feel about that? Women being chivalrous to men?
I would not. Like we mentioned earlier, like if a girl pursued me and I was, you know, just going along, and we went on a date, I would not expect her to pay for me. I would still try to pay for the bill. Actually, I
Okay.
would pay for the meal. I'm not gonna try.
Uh-huh.
Like I would feel demasculated if like this girl was like, oh, like we went on a date and she paid for the meal.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm like, what am I here for?
I actually feel the same way. Unless we're in a committed relationship,
Yeah, that's different.
I would feel emasculated as well. So let me also ask you, Andre. I lost my train of thought. But you know what? We actually had another really good question, also from the same young lady, Melinda. If you can, yes, here it is. Let me look that up. Melinda's really trying to get me in trouble today. All right. Knowing I'm almost about to get married. All right, so let's just put that out there. If a woman shouldn't demand chivalry, and by the way, I don't think she means demand in like, you better do it, but, you know, expect it and, you know, like I said, expect it. Should a man still demand, again, not the way that works, should a man still expect a woman to do her wifely duties to win over a man? In other words, a woman's version of chivalry. Now, the way I hear this question is, and Melinda, you can comment again if I'm getting it wrong. By the way, guys, if you're just joining us, please go ahead and like it and share this video so the rest of your friends can see. If a man is no longer doing his chivalrous duties, and for instance, if I'm married to Alicia and I make her take out the trash, or you know what, she asks me to take out the trash and I don't do it because there's a very important game on. These guys are not really into sports, but you and I know how important some games can get. Okay? Should I still expect her to do some of her, what would traditionally be considered wifely duties, Keenan?
Okay, so for me, well, I don't feel as though there's like gender duties. Of course, like when it comes up to like maybe cutting the grass, of course, that's gonna be like my job, I would say. But I mean, inside the house, I feel as though that's everybody's job. Everybody cleans it, not just you clean all the dishes like that. And that's because of how I feel. That's just how I take everything. Everything's supposed to be like. This is really how the world we live in right now. Is everything is man and woman are equal and everything.
Right.
But
no, I'm sorry. Go on.
Oh, okay. So and that's the reason why when everything we talk about, it's for me is that since we're like in this world right now that everybody's man and woman are equal, then I don't feel as though I would expect them to do much.
Right.
Much more than I would. We're doing the same thing. So if you expect me to take out the trash, then I expect you to take out the trash. And if I expect you to take out the trash, it just depends. Especially if I know you're busy, if you're doing school work or you're coming home late, I'm not gonna say, well, you gotta go, wake up and go. No, I feel like we both could, do the jobs together.
Well, I totally understand where you're coming from. I'm not gonna say I agree with you completely. See, Shane, if you're married to a young lady and somebody needs to change the oil in the car, let's say you're not gonna bring it somewhere, but somebody has to change it. Who's gonna do that?
I believe I would.
You believe you would. And if someone needed to cut firewood, who would be doing that?
I think I would.
That's, those two are bad examples because nobody does either of those. But let's say the grass needs to be cut. Who's going to do that?
Now, I'm about to say something, right?
Okay,
So,
go on.
yeah,
Be
so-
careful.
I'm just asking.
Now, let me put it this way, right? In a general sense, I believe that's something I would be doing, right? And I'm okay with that. I'm good. However, I used to have neighbors where the wife would enjoy cutting the grass, while the man would love cooking. And she didn't like cooking, but she liked cutting the grass. So I feel like we live in a time now where we've made so much progress with what a woman's role is and what a man's role is, that it's come to a place where we don't even have defined roles. It's like, okay, we're in a relationship, we're in this thing together, let's see how we can make this thing work. And if there's something that both of us don't like to do, if it's possible, let's take turns. Like, if I don't like washing dishes and you don't like washing dishes, yeah, we could use the dishwasher, or we can take turns. Like, oh, you know what? Let me take half the burden. Let you take half the burden. And, that's showing teamwork in a relationship. So I feel like that goes a long way in removing some of the roles and the traditional methods of what relationships used to be. Because I don't feel like a lot of people are looking for those exact things anymore.
Okay, that's a very good point. Well, let me talk about our background as far as where our families are from. You three gentlemen are from the Caribbean descent, correct?
Correct.
Okay, the three of you are. And I am from, I'm Cape Verdean. And one thing that I've learned once I started coming to this church here, Mount Zion, is that our cultures are very similar. And so we do have sort of traditional roles. But I feel like now that we're in America, it's sort of a double standard. So let me ask you something, Andre. Do you feel like it is a double standard now with roles? Because okay, let me explain it. Do you feel like sometimes there are certain jobs that is considered a man's job and a man is supposed to do that? Like if there's a spider in the bathroom,
Yeah.
you are expected to go there and kill it. But that also, we are not allowed to expect the women to do anything. For instance, we are not allowed to say or expect a woman to cook.
Okay, I can see you. I can definitely see how that may be a double standard. And I feel like a lot of those do exist. But I think if you address it and like figure out what it is in your relationship, you're like, you know, if I have a girlfriend and like we talk about that, like, hey, so you expect this of me, but I can't expect this of you, and we talk about we come to an agreement or something, then in our relationship that double standard is now nullified.
Mm-hmm.
That can still be, you know, out and about, but in our relationship we're good.
Okay.
And I feel like that's what needs to happen with everyone's relationships.
Well, I do agree with that. But do you think that people actually come to that determination? Will they actually get there? Or do you think that sometimes there's...
No, I think
probably
once
different
it
for
comes up, it kind of... Because usually when something like that happens, like usually it starts on one side, right? Like how you said, they expect us to, you know, cut the grass, take out the trash, so on and so forth. We're like, okay, fine. But then what happens is we expect them to cook and clean, whatever. And then they're like, no. And that's when something goes off in their brain, like, what in the world? Like, don't you expect? And at that point, usually, that's when it is addressed. So I kind of feel like it's forced to be addressed at that point.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that. We had a couple of people that weren't here at the beginning. So Gavin actually asked, he says, I know I'm late, but could we define or redefine chivalry? So what we were talking about at the very beginning is that the word chivalry sort of came from an ancient, knight's code, and a lot of it had to do with defending your religion and defending your God and things like that. And it sort of evolved into what we now see as chivalry, or when I say, when women say chivalry is dead, things like men paying for dates, opening the doors. If you're both in a cold place, a man would actually take his jacket off and put it on a young lady. So if you're just joining us or didn't see that, that's what we're talking about right now. And how much of it is still required / needed. So let me ask you something, Shane. If you were to walk with a young lady into a restaurant, for instance, and she opened the door for you, how would that make you feel? She grabbed the door first.
It's happened. It's
Okay.
happened before, and usually I would still like go above her and hold the door and let her walk in first.
Sure.
Because it does. No, seriously, it doesn't feel right.
Right. Well, no, I'm not sure as in I didn't believe you. I was going to say, sure, it's easy for you to do
I was
as a
thinking-
tall man.
6 foot.
As a
My
guy
hair be odd.
that is vertically challenged like myself, there is none of this. That ain't happening. I might be able to go under her and grab that. So, but that's as much as I'm going to do. So it still is something, you know. I feel like, to conclude the whole thing, as men, we do need to be chivalrous to women, obviously. But it is a two-way street. If you're finding any more questions, let me know. It is a two-way street. So I think now, 2017, chivalry is more about both of us treating the other one well.
Yeah.
There are some women that don't necessarily want their car doors to be open for them. Some women that don't necessarily want, you to put your jacket on them. I don't know any of them, but I'm sure they're out there.
I don't know.
But it's all about treating the other person well. So Andre, would you go ahead?
Oh, and this is what I was gonna ask.
Mhm.
Okay, don't forget your question.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be watching on the way to where I'm going next. But, what's the difference between chivalry and just having good manners? And I was just about to ask that question.
That's my question.
Because, when do you know, sometimes it's a little sketchy because, you know, the minute you do certain things for a girl because you've been, in my mind, trained right, or, you know, you're just a young gentleman, then some people that you don't need having feelings for you or don't want to have feelings for you, all of a sudden
Have
feelings for you. So it's just like, I feel like,
No, but all joking aside, I do think that being a gentleman, being chivalrous, and being just a good person do kind of intertwine. But there is some sort of overlap, and there is a line. For instance, if I'm at a store and I see a young lady, or even a young, doesn't have to be a young lady, I see a woman or even a man behind me, I will hold that door open for them. And I consider that to be chivalrous. I think it's very rude to not do that. At the same time, there's certain things that you don't want to go overboard with. For instance, if a young lady that I'm not dating is cold, I'm sorry, you on your own. I'm still wearing my jacket.
Wow.
And it isn't because I'm mean or rude, but I don't want her to feel as if I'm either hitting on her or propositioning her or anything like that. So Andre, how do you feel about that?
Okay, so I think that there are certain friends that I would do that for, because
Okay.
you know we just have that type of relationship. But let's say Keenan has a friend and we're not mutual friends, and she's a girl, and we were hanging out and stuff, and she was cold. I wouldn't offer her my jacket. I feel like that'd be weird. If she asked me, by all means, I would give it to her.
Right.
But I wouldn't take that step because I wouldn't want her to get the wrong idea or something like that.
So Keenan, are we too worried about people feeling as if? Let me ask that again. Are we too worried about people maybe thinking that we like them when we don't? When we should just maybe not care as much and just do what is right or what is nice?
I think just the latter. I think you're supposed to just be generous, have good manners towards everybody.
Right.
And then I feel as though when you have good manners, people can kind of see that from you, and they're not going to really be expecting you like, oh, that he likes me. So when they see that, oh yeah, he's just a good mannered guy, they're not going to be expecting that. And I feel as though because lots of times we have that way of, if I like a girl, I might show some extra niceness towards her, and people can see that. So then and you kind of feel off of that, I would say. So I would just say in general, you're just trying to be the best, good-mannered guy that you can be.
Okay, and I understand that, but let me ask you another question, Keenan. Have you ever not done something because you were afraid, like, oh, this girl might think I like her, and I don't? I mean, I like her as a person, as a friend. I am not interested in her romantically, so yes, I was going to maybe give her my jacket or hug her a certain way or something, but I'm not going to now because I don't want her to think I like her.
Okay.
I don't want to give her the wrong impression.
No, I don't think that has happened to me, no.
Never. Okay, what about you, Andre? Have you ever had a girl, okay, let me put it this way. Has there ever been wrong signals on your part to a young lady that you didn't mean? Have you ever made a poor young lady think that she was just gonna have you forever and ever and
Why do you
ever?
say that?
Unnecessary. You didn't do it on purpose, but just accidentally you did something. You were just being nice, and it made it to her seem like you liked her as more than a friend.
Okay, how I see it, because I feel like that may or may not have happened, but how I took those situations or how I perceived them was that the girl saw qualities in me that she liked, and she would just hope that I liked them back.
Well, he's got a
That's-
good answer.
That's what it was.
That was
So
a
I was
really good
like,
answer.
I was just being nice because I feel like I'm a generally nice guy.
Yeah.
So I was being nice, and she was like, I like that. And that's why she tried to be, more friendly towards me, tried to, show me signs.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, well, some people might say, I don't believe it, but some people might say that I'm a flirtatious kind of guy. I don't know where they get that from, but, some people would say that. On top of me being flirtatious, though, I try to be extra nice. So if a young lady who I barely know is cold, and I've met her more than once or twice, I would give her my jacket. This was before. Now that I am a mature man, I've learned that you have to dial certain things back just a little bit, because you don't want to give other people the impression especially now I'm in a relationship, I don't want it to look as though it's disrespect for my fiance or anything like that. So where do you draw the line from being nice to I don't want? Where does that line get drawn?
So I think in all things we need wisdom. So that's one of those things where you have to have the wisdom to know in that situation, would it be okay? Is it something that my significant other would look upon would frown upon? So I think you kind of just have to have wisdom with the situation and try to think ahead, like what's the response if I do this, and if it's a negative one, don't do it. Yeah.
You're not always gonna be right. There's always gonna be somebody who just you can just say hi to them in a certain way, and then they're like, he loves me. He is totally in love with me. I knew it. The way he said hi to me was totally different than the way he said hi to her. So, it's kind of like a no-win situation, but you do have to sort of meter that. I wanted to talk about Gavin's question again. Actually, he's talking about Joe's question, which his comment says, I like Joe's question. Looking on the internet, much of the responses is no one really knows what chivalry is. We just know that it's possibly dead. So, like I said, I think, in my opinion, that word chivalry has really evolved. It used to be, I don't know if you guys ever watch like an old-timey show where they have knights and stuff like that, and the knights have honor and they have pride and they're honest and they would never tell a lie and that kind of thing. And that was sort of the knight's code before. But again, I do think that word has evolved. And really, maybe we shouldn't even call it chivalry, but we should call it more, just being a gentleman, But it's sort of being a gentleman towards a young lady. Yeah. So that's how I see the word and how I've grown up with that word. Yeah. But, I really think that at the end of the day, chivalry should be a man treating a lady in the same manner that God treats his church.
I agree.
And we have to be very careful because you have to treat the lady that you're with special, okay? You can't treat her in the same way that you treat other ladies, which is hard. Because if you want to open the door, you should be able to do that for every lady. But then you open the door for your lady, and she's like, well, you just opened the door for that lady. So how I guess what I'm asking here is, how do we make that
distinction?
Yeah, I guess, how do we draw that line? You know what, I've asked you a bunch of times, right? Keenan, how do you draw a line? What's something that you would do for your girlfriend that you're just not going to do for another girl? Something that's just considered nice, but you're not going to do it for another girl, but you will do it for your girlfriend.
I don't know if I have any specific examples. I'm trying to think.
Better think fast.
I'm trying
She's
to
watching.
The reason why I say specific, because there's lots of things that I know that I will only do for her that I would not do for anybody else.
Okay.
So that's why I said I don't know any specific examples.
Right.
Other times I'd be like, that's not really my prerogative.
Right.
I feel responsibility because it's my girlfriend, so I'm like, there's plenty of things that I would do extra. I just don't know if I can't think of a specific example.
Right. Well, I think, that was actually the perfect answer, because some of those things that you do for her aren't anything like a physical thing. Mm-hmm. It's not like something like opening the door for her or even paying for a date. It has some more emotional implications to it. You'll actually sit there and listen to her problems or whatever and how her day is, and actually, not that you can't do that with a friend, but there's a different level to that. And I think that's how Christ is with us. He takes his love for us to a different level. You know what I mean? He will listen to our problems. He will treat us like he loves us and that kind of thing, and of course he does it for everyone. So I think that's what we have to really keep in mind, because, as far as chivalry is concerned, I don't think it's dead. I see men all the time opening doors or whatever for women, but then later on, behind closed doors, you don't know what's happening. So I think that it's still alive and well, and I just think that some guys just don't know how to be, or what to be, or what's too much and what's not enough, and that kind of thing. So anyways, guys, if you guys have any last minute questions, go ahead and ask. Before we do, we can't be like 50 Shades of Grey, okay? Okay. Okay. Can you put... Oh, okay. Joe Williams has a really good comment here, and it's basically where it says, we all know that the verse, well, maybe not all of us know, but where it says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not boast, it is not envy. If you can replace your name, and this is something that I had to learn going through marriage counseling, premarital counseling, should I say. And I want to be able to always be able to put my name or her name in between right there. So when I think about the woman that I'm going to marry, I want to be able to say, and I can say, Lisa is patient, Lisa is kind, Lisa does not envy, Lisa does not boast, Lisa is not proud, and so on and so forth. And I really think that we were getting off topic a little bit, but it's important to know that you shouldn't be with somebody if you cannot put their name in this verse. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
But let me also ask you, nobody is perfect. So even though I say Lisa is kind, and she is, she honestly is the kindest woman that I know, she does have moments where she's not so kind. So how do we make sure that that person is kind, even if they're not always kind? How do you gauge it? Can I still put her name in that verse if she's not 100% every single time kind to me?
Well, no, you can't expect someone to be 100% every time, because we are humans and we do have our faults. You may have had a bad day, but I think if you can generally say something about a person, their character,
right?
Because if someone's character is kind, then they're most of the time going to be kind. They might have their faults, and they may waver from time to time, but if they're a kind person, they're going to be a kind person. And that's part of the getting to know you stage. You have to make sure that you get to know the person. And like Gavin said, how communication is key. That's how you get to know the person. It's through communication. Don't keep things in your head. Put it out on the table. Put it out in wisdom. Put it out in the right way. But put it out there.
Okay. Yeah. So that's actually really good. We got some good comments over here. Guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up because we don't want it to go too long. But I just want to say, keep Christ first. Always remember to keep Christ first. Share this video so other people can see. It might bless somebody else. And also, we always invite you to our church, Mount Zion, which is in Kissimmee. If you want to know more about it, you can message any of us or message the page or anything like that. We'll definitely let you know. Okay. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. This is going to, again, we're going to try to do this every month, first Friday of every month. And hopefully, it keeps growing and it gets bigger and better. And, I want to thank the guy. Shane had to leave because he's the busiest man we know. And so, he wants everybody to know that, he appreciates everybody watching and whatnot. And I want to say thank you to Andre, to Keenan, and to Shane. These guys are, just great guys. And I do appreciate you guys coming over here and taking some of my abuse. So thank you for everybody that's watching. If we can, Andre, I'm going to ask you to say a quick little prayer before we leave.
All right. Father in heaven, we're thankful for the discussion that we've had, all the points that were brought up. We're thankful that you have blessed us and brought us another week. We ask as we continue to go through our lives, Lord, that we remember how much you love us and that we will try to show that love to others. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, guys. Bye. See you next month.